Hey everyone, and welcome to RPG Horror Stories with DnD Doge. In today's video, we have a tale about a player in a Dungeons & Dragons Discord server that just won't stop cheating. Then, when given a second chance from the server's dungeon masters, continues on with the same behavior. But before we get into that, here is Nipsey with a message.
Remember to like the video and subscribe. I really like this banana.
Thanks, bud. I hope they do that too. But with that said, let's get into this D&D horror story. Compulsive Cheater Doesn't Learn His Lesson. Submitted to the D&D Doge subreddit by Reddit user ShadowOrc12. Hey guys, I shared this story on r/RPG Horror Stories a couple of years ago, but since I'm a fan of the Doge, I decided to share it here as well. This story takes place over the course of about a week in D&D Westmarch's server on Discord, about a guy who just, for the life of him, could not stop cheating, and acted rude, condescending, and cringeworthy the entire time. This happened just as I got accepted as a moderator on this Westmarch's server. I was learning the ropes on helping run the server, making suggestions on rule changes, dealing with problematic players, etc. But boy, this was definitely a crash course in the latter. It was just a regular day when I saw a guy who we'll call Jared join the server. Nothing seemed odd about him at first. He went through the character approval process and rolled really good stats, something like a 90 total before racials. I forgot the exact number. He made a couple of jokes about having main character stats, which no one really minded at the time, as that was a fairly common joke here. He made a rogue cleric, who I will also call Jared, because, honestly, his character really didn't stand out enough in the personality department to distinguish him from the player. It was around the end of the day when his character got approved, and then he immediately applied to be a DM. So, thankfully, I don't think any of the admins got around to actually looking at his application until we got clued in on something about Jared. The next day, I wake up to another one of the moderators posting in mod chat a screenshot of a private message he was sent. It was from a mod from a server that we were partnered with, who was also an occasional player in our server. He told her that Jared used to be a DM on his server, but was kicked off the team because he was caught cheating. And also, he had just made a carbon copy of his old character there, on our server. Literally, the same name and everything. We then decided to keep an eye on him, as he hadn't done anything yet. Or so we thought. About 20 minutes later, the same mod that had received the message, who also had approved Jared's character, which is why we think he chose to message her out of everyone, looked at Jared's D&D Beyond sheet just to make sure he hadn't done anything, and saw that he had switched around his expertises, as well as gave himself 200 XP out of nowhere, which we all saw because he did it in one of the bot channels with Avery's XP tracking feature. As he made a mechanical change about his character after it was approved, this broke a rule. We decided to tell him that we noticed a discrepancy on his sheet from the submission, and asked him to take away the 200 XP, which he complied with, though this would not be the last time we would catch Jared cheating or doing some other crummy stuff. About a day goes by after this, and then Jared gets into an actual game. What happened next, I wasn't actually there for, but was told by the same mod who approved Jared's sheet, who we'll call V for convenience, about what happened. V had DM'd this game that Jared was in, and he got rude with one of her rulings. She had ruled that switching from his longsword and shield to a rapier would cost his entire action. Jared was not a fan of this, and had incessantly argued with her. She put her foot down, saying, "I'm the DM, and this is how I want to rule this." To which he replied, "Fine, if you want to be like that." Not only was he caught cheating on his first day, but he was already needlessly rude to someone. After the game, he used the gold he got from it to buy himself an herbalism kit. V, still not trusting of Jared, especially after that altercation, checked his sheet a few hours later, She had found that he now had proficiency with herbalism, even though he didn't have it at creation, nor did he get anything that gives him proficiency. This was brought up in mod chat, and one of the administrators decided to ask him what was up with that. His response was, "Wouldn't you get proficiency from having the item?" The admin asked him where he got that information from, to which he said, "I thought that's how tools worked." Due to his previous instance of cheating, and our knowledge of his cheating on another server, no one bought it for a second, and he got his first warning. A few days later, I got into my first game with him. I didn't really have a personal opinion of him at first, until he dropped the line that was equal parts creepy and cringeworthy. Now, the player characters in this party were all female except for his. He took note of that and decided to say out loud, "I'm the only guy in the party. I'm gonna have to try hard not to simp." I said nothing and just contemplated on how weird that was for him to just say out loud. He also made mention of his character possibly getting a random bloody nose. It was at this point that I started wondering if he legitimately thought of his character as some harem anime protagonist. The game was fun regardless, as the rest of the party worked off of each other well, though Jared did say the occasional stupid thing. Not anything worth mentioning in a horror story, but most of the player characters came out with a more negative in-character opinion of his character regarding his intelligence, which I don't even think was supposed to be a self-aware character flaw. A few days pass, and I get into another game with him, this time as a different character, as the server allows you to have more than one character. And I went with one of my male characters this time to try to not get a cringy comment from Jared. The dungeon master was V, and we were going to hunt down a monster from Monster Hunter, as she found a bunch of 5e homebrew versions of Monster Hunter monsters that she really wanted to use. I've never played Monster Hunter before, but it was a lot of fun. However, Jared got up to his cheating again in the game. While we were fighting the monster, he decided to cast a save spell on it. Neither I nor V noticed that he didn't say what he was casting, just that it was a dex save, which the monster failed. He then said that he had casted Fairy Fire. The next turn, he asked for another dex save, but this time, the monster passed, to which he then said that he had casted Sacred Flame. That was when we both realized that something effy was going on. We both realized that he declared what he was casting both this turn and the last, after he knew the outcome of the save. It failed the first time, so he cast a leveled spell. It passed this time, so he casted a cantrip. V immediately called him out for his metagaming, to which he feigned ignorance of, and told him that if she catches him doing it again, he will be kicked from the game. He then switched to only using the text channels for the rest of the session. This was all reported in mod chat, but we decided to hold off on giving him a second warning, as he sort of already got an earful from V in the session. The next day, I ran a game that Jared signed up for. As I was doing the last minute prep of making sure I had the stat blocks and everything ready, I noticed that Jared typed into the text channel on Discord, "I'll be using text as I'm at work right now." We have a rule in the server that you're not allowed to sign up for a game if you're going to be at work or in class for students, as a lot of players on the server are in college at the time it's ran. Me and an admin, who was a player for this game, told him that he was not supposed to sign up if he was going to be at work. He then changed his story to, "I'm actually on my 30-minute break." But then the admin told him, "But you're going to be back to work in only 30 minutes into what could be a 3 to 4 hour game, and you could get in trouble if your boss catches you." Jared: "I actually work at home, so it's no big deal." Both me and the admin: "But you're still supposed to be doing work. You won't be putting in a lot of attention and effort into your work or the game if you're trying to do both at the same time." Jared, in a condescending tone: "What? Do you not think I can multitask?" Admin: "That's not the issue. We have rules against this. You can't sign up for games if you have work shifts or classes at that time." Jared. Actually, I take my 30-minute break at the end of my shift, so I'm off after that. Admin and I did not believe it for a second. He changed his story so much in a 2-minute conversation. I privately messaged him and told him that I'm giving his spot to someone else, as I don't want to deal with a player being inattentive due to being at work, and it being against the rules. While he complied, he still tried to stick to his ever-changing story. Time skip another day or so. I get into another game, and Jared is in it as well. This time, I bring the new cleric I had just made. I had done a lot of research for this character, as I had never played a cleric before, so I wanted to choose the domain that I would have the most fun with. This becomes relevant soon. I eventually chose the Dampier Grave Cleric, a female character who I was careful not to have interact with Jared much, because of some paranoia that he would just see her as a waifu. The quest was to get rid of some giant undead worm-like creatures. We eventually found these creatures and fought them. On turn 1, Jared tries to use Channel Divinity, turn undead, to frighten them, and we can fight one while the other is busy running away. They both passed their wisdom saves, and Jared reacts with, "Okay, I'll just try it again next turn." Jared was level 6 or 7 at this time, and I knew his class split was only 2 levels of cleric, and the rest were in rogue, as he advertises that when he signs up for games. And with the knowledge of cleric that was fresh in my mind from creating this character, I knew that turn undead consumes a use of Channel Divinity, which you get 2 uses of only at 6th level cleric, which Jared was not. With the constant and habitual cheating I knew him for, I wasn't going to let it slide, and spoke up, as the DM running this game wasn't a mod and was not aware of Jared's cheating ways, as we don't make warnings public to people under mods in the proverbial chain of command. I tried to sound like I was just correcting a mistake instead of making it seem like a call-out. Me. Actually, Jared, turn undead takes a use of your Channel Divinity, which you only have 1 of. Jared. What? No it doesn't. It's a separate feature. Me. Turn undead is just a Channel Divinity option every cleric gets on top of their domain-specific ones. Other players as well as the DM. OP is right. Your Channel Divinity is gone. Jared, in one of the most condescending tones I have heard. Turn undead doesn't take a use of Channel Divinity, OP. The Dungeon Master politely shut down the conversation, as it had taken up some time at this point, and ruled that Jared's Channel Divinity was consumed, much to Jared's displeasure, and we finished the rest of the game, completing the quest given to us. After the game, I messaged V, who knew I had been having problems with Jared herself, to have a therapeutic rant. I told her what had happened, and then she had told me that she had stopped trying to sign up for games that were in the level bracket Jared was in because his cheating and attitude was sucking the fun out of DnD for her, as she believed in the philosophy of no D&D is better than bad D&D, which sucked, as most of her characters are similar levels to Jared's, with the exception of one level 15 character at the time. High-level games aren't run super often on that server, at times when she can play, as the majority of the server lives in North America, and V lives in a European time zone. That was when we both decided to voice our own complaints in mod chat, as I had had enough of both Jared's cheating and general attitude, not only as a player, but as a moderator. After a conversation in mod chat with the other mods, learning that other people in the mod team have had similar experiences with him, one of the owners spoke up and gave us the blessing to give Jared his second warning for continued cheating and bad behavior. Now, with our warning system works, the first warning is more of a slap on the wrist. You just get told, don't do this stuff again, and you're sent on your way. The second warning, however, is a lot more severe. You get kicked from the server, but you can rejoin. However, you also lose all of your characters, gold, magic items, everything as well. So if you rejoin, you're starting again from scratch. One of the server owners was the one to give out the warning, as he never actually interacted with Jared, so we all decided he was the most fit, as he would be the most neutral-tempered with whatever fallout this would have in the PMs. We all saw what happened, as whenever a warning is given out, we always screenshot the message, along with the recipient's replies, for record-keeping purposes. He insisted that his behavior has been good, and that he never cheated or metagamed, and cried that if he was kicked, he would lose all of his progress. As there have been multiple witnesses and testimonies to his behavior, the owner did not buy it for a second, and Jared was kicked. Though this was not the end, however. As it was only a kick and loss of character and loot, Jared immediately returned and put on a subtle woe is me act in general chat, which we just ignored. After he was done, he immediately rolled stats for a new character. Now, I should say, we allow both rolling for stats and a slightly higher point buy for character creation. However, you can only use one or the other, and if you roll for stats, you are locked into those stats and cannot switch to point buy. Jared put up his new character for submission, which was just another carbon copy of his old character, but called it a twin. But I noticed something on his submission. He rolled for stats, but he noted on the submission that he used point buy instead, and the stats on his sheet were different from the ones he had rolled previously. Someone pointed out in mod chat about the character being a carbon copy of his old one, and then I pointed out the stat method switch. He had come back from a kick, only to immediately try to circumvent the rules again, thinking that we would not notice. A vote goes forward on banning him, as it's obvious that not even a kick and the consequences of it wasn't changing his cheating. The majority decided on a month-long ban, and he was gone. That month ban expired a long time ago, but I thankfully never saw Jared again. TLDR. Guy comes into a West Marches server I moderate. We get told he lost DM status on another server for cheating. He proceeds to cheat as much as he thinks he can get away with, and is rude the entire time. Then he gets booted.
Geez, you would think that after getting caught the first time, and breaking the rules multiple times, thus losing his character, would make him think twice before trying to sneakily do so again, right after being able to rejoin the server. I will never understand why anyone would want to cheat in tabletop RPGs like Dungeons & Dragons. It kinda takes all the fun out of it if there's no risk at all. But apparently, this player just couldn't hold back from doing so. I guess intelligence was his dump stat. But that is all I have for you today. As always, I appreciate all of you, and may your games remain cheater-free. Until next time.